that. We're also going to talk tonight about the defunding of Homeland Security, which looks like it will happen tomorrow. We were going to talk about this a couple weeks ago, and then I just never got into it because it's kind of boring. But Congress is supposed to pass this huge series of appropriations bills to fund a number of departments and agencies. They split it up. And the reason they did it is because the Democrats do not want to pass any funding for Homeland Security. Democrats are conditioning their support for funding Homeland Security upon this 10-point plan. They basically want a George Floyd ICE. They want a George Floyd Border Patrol and ICE. The Democrats are saying they will not give any money for Homeland Security unless the Republicans agree to this huge package of restrictions on how ICE can carry out their duties. And that includes things like body cameras and like a national guideline for rules of engagement. They got to get rid of the masks. Bunch of different things that will basically reduce the effectiveness of ICE as they carry out the deportations. Republicans are giving some concessions, but it's not enough. And so now we're hurtling towards a partial government shutdown. It will only affect Homeland Security. And even within Homeland Security, it will not affect ICE or Border Patrol, ironically enough. It's only going to affect the Coast Guard, the TSA, the other agencies within Homeland Security. And that will be shut down until there can be some agreement on how we're going to deal with ICE, how the Republicans are going to restrain ICE and their ability to do their duty. So if we have time, we'll talk about that too. Should be a pretty good show, although I got to admit, it's kind of a slow news day. It's been a very slow week. There's like nothing going on. Content drought. I'm bored. Don't you feel that way? I mean, we are really in the thick of it here. We're second year into the second Trump administration. Winter, it's like the worst 2 months of the year, January and February. By far, in my opinion, the worst 2 months of the year. I feel like there's nothing going on. I was going to cancel the show because I'm like, there's literally nothing to talk about. But I had to do the show because I need to do a victory lap about ICE. I just have to. I don't know. You know, I almost am tired of doing it because I've just done it so many times at this point, and we've been doing it to death. But I just really want to drive it home. I really want to drive the point home for all these people that I was so right and they were so wrong, and they couldn't have been more wrong. And at this point in time, we just have to make them feel bad. We have to demoralize them. And that's honestly why I do it. That's why I do the show. That's why I do shows like this. It is to demoralize. And some of them say that like it's a bad thing, like they figured me out. They're like, he doesn't want you to know that he's running a demoralization campaign. No, I do want you to know. That's exactly what I'm doing. I am intentionally and self-consciously and willfully demoralizing you. And I'm doing it consistently and habitually over time in a concerted effort to make you feel bad because you need to feel bad. Everybody that voted for this needs to feel bad. You need to feel worse than you feel. You should be embarrassed. And you should feel despair. I want you to feel despair. You need to feel hopeless. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you don't, and if you don't feel bad, I'm not doing my job. If you don't feel despair, you're going to do it all over again in 2028. So people say, are you doing this because you want to help the Democrats? You're a secret liberal. You're a secret Democrat. This is why. Because if I don't absolutely
come on, man.
you
Fuck.
how hopeless you need to be, if I don't make you feel despair, you,
whatever it is,
shithead, idiot family and friends, You're going to do it all over again in 2028. Okay, bookmark this. Screenshot this post, save it in your camera roll, and put a keyword on it so you can AI search it in 3 years. Mark my words. These people that are still trusting the plan, these people that are still coping and shilling, these people that are still meat riding Trump, giggling and slipping it back in, reverse cowgirl on Trump, mark my words. The only reason they are doing it now is because they are preparing you. They are getting you ready for 2-3 years from now when they are going to try to foist J.D. Vance upon you. And we're going to do it all over again. We're going to play the same game. So remember in 2024 when I told everybody, don't vote, follow the money. We're getting a war with Iran, corporate tax cuts, H-1Bs, and no mass deportations. Remember when I predicted that in June 2024, and I said I'm not voting and you shouldn't either? I said I'm not voting unless he explicitly commits to actually remove everybody, actually implement an immigration moratorium, and specifically refuse regime change in Iran. And everybody said I was crazy. Everybody said I was a plant. I'm a Democrat. Everybody said it's the FBI. And now you learned your lesson. We're on our way to a war with Iran. The Army is getting ready. The second aircraft carrier is being prepared. Deportations are over. You need to feel ashamed and embarrassed. You need to be despairing because they are preparing you. They're getting you ready to do the same thing in 2028. They're going to foist J.D. Vance, and it's going to be the same rhetoric. Golden Age, a Creed concert. We're going to have a jib-jab, staying alive edit, and it's going to be Vance and Vivek and all the usual suspects. So, I'm sorry, but we have to do this. We have to do this over and over again until you're ready. But anyway, that's the purpose of it. We'll get into all that tonight. Before we do, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. Go to our merch store, Fuentes.store. We have the hats, we have the quarter zips, we have shirts, sweatshirts. Check it out. If you want to support the show, subscribe, become a Plus member at AmericaFirst.plus. $15 a month. Quick and easy. $15 a month, you get access to the entire archive. $100 a month, you get to be in a group chat with me. And I gave a little preview of the show in there, and I was chopping it up a little bit tonight before the show. So check that out. That's AmericaFirst.plus. One other thing. Before we get into the actual news, we have another story about clavicular tonight. And that's why I'm a little bit late. I told you I was going to do the show at 9:30. I wound up going live at like 10:30. And that's because I was watching Clavicular stream. And the reason being is because he was conspicuously released from prison in Phoenix, charges dropped, and then all of a sudden he's on this flight to New York City for this Milady rave party. And I'm sure for the vast majority of people watching, you don't even know what that is. You've never heard of it. And I'll tell you what it is, but it's very weird. He gets sprung from jail. Charges dropped. He was facing 8 years in prison. All of a sudden, no legal problems. And just as quickly, he's on a jet to New York for this party. And he's in the New York Fashion Show, and then he's going to this after party. And the after party is hosted by Remelia Corporation, which created this NFT called Milady. Now, you don't need to know all the details. All you need to know is it's a Thiel adjacent project. It is a Peter Thiel adjacent project. You have this scene in New York City, and they're all pretending to be fashion people and artists and filmmakers and things like that, but really it's all heavily subsidized by Peter Thiel and his cronies.
What the fuck, man?
and they're all pro-Vance, and they were all pro-Trump, and they're all pretending to be artists. And this is supposed to be kind of like a cultural offensive. They're like supposed to be the cultural vanguard of the Peter Thiel political project. Heavy overlap with cryptocurrency and Ethereum, overlap with Curtis Yarvin's operating system, overlap with all those different projects that are going on, Sovereign House and Passover Feast, all this kind of stuff. And anyway, they all hang
the
out.
fucking TV.
And this is where Clavicular is going. He's going into the belly of the beast, into this Peter Thiel art collective wannabe tech scene in New York, and he's popping up there, and it's very random, and everybody's kind of wondering, what is he doing there? And is this in any way connected to his invitation to the Peter Thiel party, or the fact that he was just sprung from jail? Because he gets sprung from jail, and now he's at this party, and these guys are not particularly famous. They got a little bit of money, a little bit of sorts, so maybe they got paid, who knows. But the timing was a little weird. So he pops up at the party, and I saw all these people tweeting about it. They were saying, oh my gosh, Clavicular's going to our party. Clavicular's going to be at the Milady rave. We're so back. They said a year ago, Milady had no cultural relevance, total L, just no motion at all. They said, wow, we turned it all around. We're winning. Clavicular's going to be at our party. And I was just watching the stream. He pulls up to the party. He's there for 30 seconds. Everybody there's a total freak. It's like a freak show. Rizless chuds coming up, trying to shill their NFT. The manager comes up and tries to kick him out. She gets fucking mugged. She gets literally mugged to death. She falls apart into a million pieces. They tell him he can't film. He turns around and leaves after 10 minutes. And I know a lot of people don't really know what that is, and maybe they don't really know the significance, but for the people that do know, so delicious. Actually delicious. And this is just a little piece of advice, okay? This is a little reminder to everybody in Dime Square. This is a little reminder. Here's a little piece of advice for everybody in that scene. You are not cool. You are fucking lame. Your entire scene is lame. You suck, and you are nothing. And you will never, ever compare to the Groypers. You will never have the same or even remotely close to the same level of cultural relevance and motion and effortless authenticity and aura as the Groypers. Because you are nothing. Because you are fake, you are Jewish, you are propped up by fucking weird defense tech money. Fuck you and your party that I wasn't even invited to. You just got mocked to death. You just got frame mocked. So I saw that, I was like, dude, me magic. As always, nigga, as always. So good, because I saw that and I was like, wow, he's pulling up to the party. I was like, this sucks. I was like, now all these shit-eating Dime Square posers are going to get to act like big shots for a night. Oh, Clavicular came to our party. Oh, we're cool or whatever. Guys, it's so Jewish, it's not even funny. Like, if you knew, I would spend time explaining it, but it's niche. And I don't really feel like it, but just trust me when I tell you it's so Jewish. I'll give you an example. Last year, when Trump was inaugurated, when this big Jewish shit show began, at Trump's inauguration, Milady, the same group, they hosted an after party for the inauguration. And what did they call it? I think they called it like the Golden Age Ball, or I don't know, something really gay. And they had this like big party in DC, and all these people were there. And dude, there were like a dozen people in kippahs at that party. There was like some Mossad chief, there were rabbis, Laura Loomer was there. It is the most Jewish shit you have ever seen in your life. And they all think they're so cool, and it's like, you're not cool, you're fucking Jewish. And anyway, so I was kind of like, I saw he was going to be at the party. I was like, son of a bitch. Like, but no. Wayne-Halfs are undefeated. They just got mocked. So, anyway, so I was enjoying that. I don't know if you saw the stream, but it was great. I don't even know if he knows who those people are, but he didn't even need to. Because he showed up, he felt the vibes were off, and he left. And that's who you are. You know,
It's
that,
because you could record. What's the fucking point?
That's who you are. Clavicular shows up to your party. You know, you guys think you're cool on the internet. You're not. You're just paid money. It's a sinecure. An actual cool, normal young person shows up to your party and is disgusted. An actual cool, normal person shows up to your party. He is there for 5 seconds and he is disgusted. He sees exactly what you are. It took him all of 10 seconds to see exactly what you are. He saw right through you. And he left. And that is going in the GQ article. It is going in the GQ article. And, yeah, so we're enjoying that. So, WClav, I was watching the stream. I was watching Sneeko. Sneeko has, like, no chill. What is this guy's deal? I go into Sneeko's stream, and I'm active in the chat. I hop in the stream. He's talking about Islam, and I just make a joke. I'm like, I got to get some Zamzam water, because that's like, I don't know, the Prophet's water supply in Saudi Arabia. So I literally come into Sneeko's stream, and I'm like, hey, I got to get some Zamzam water. And dude has zero chill. He just starts ruthlessly attacking Catholics. He's like, oh yeah, well, Catholics baptize their babies like this. I'm like, dude, like, relax. I'm like, I'm out of here. I come into the stream, I'm trying to hang out, and then it's just like Catholics catching strays. He's attacking the Pope, shitting on me. I'm like, is this how you treat your chatters? Now I know what it's like to be a super chatter. I'm literally in the chat just being, like, innocent and making a joke. And bro took it personally. Bro declared a jihad. I literally go in the live chat, I'm just having fun, and bro's like, Allahu Akbar. I'm like, dude, fucking relax. It's jokes. These fucking towelheads have no chill at all. Can't say anything. I wasn't even making fun of it. I was just saying, like, Zamzam water, LOL. Holy cortisol spike. Sneeko's got like a little high cortisol thing going on. I don't know what that's all about. We need to work on it. The cortisol, I don't know what it is. It's like a PTSD from the Clubacost. Sneeko's got a little PTSD from the Clubacost. It's like, you know, when a veteran sees a firework go off and he cries. It's like, I don't know. Anybody says anything to Sneeko and the cortisol spikes, and it's a jihad. Anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll go in and I don't need to sit here and get attacked. So I went to Clav's stream, and then I was watching that, and it was good stuff. But anyway, he met Brett Cooper. Did you see that? It's just like the greatest show in the world right now. Honest, no meat riding, but the Clav stream is just like, it's the best thing happening on the internet. It just is. Did you see him meet Brett Cooper? Dude, and Brett Cooper, dude, she wants him. It's crazy. She could barely contain herself. She was trying to jump out of her skin. I think she went there just to meet him. She's dissing him on the stream. Sneeko texted me. He's like, she said we have aura. I'm like, dude, she wants him. She's negging him. She's like blazing us to make him jealous. How do you not see through this? It's just like 101, bro. Sneeko texted me the clip because Brett Cooper said, Sneeko and Nick actually have aura. They're actually cool. Clav is lame. And Sneako's like, she said we have aura. I'm like, Sneako, how do you not see what she's doing? She's negging him. She's glazing us to make him jealous. It's so transparent. And then she flew all the way to New York, literally just to be in his presence. She flew all the way to the New York Fashion Show to make a cameo, just to be in his presence, just to download the aura in real life, just to actually feel the frequency and the vibrations in real life. It's what it is. It's what it is. I tell it how it is. That's what I saw. So that was it. She was like, hi, Clav. It's like, bitch. It's like, come on now. Keep it in your, like, hey, relax, okay? So anyway, so this is good stuff, guys. This is good stuff. This is great content. He's walking the wrong way with his phone in hand. Greg Cooper, mods and Milady Freaks. Dude, he told Pariah the doll, get me a burger, then left. It's so peak. Anyway. But that's it. We're going to move on. We're going to get into the news. I had to
Do the news,
I
faggot.
don't know if everyone's watching this, or is it just me? You know, huge news for the unemployed. Clav just mogged Milady Remilio party. Huge news for the unemployed. I don't know. Are you guys seeing this? I have no one to talk to about this. All my friends are wages. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to get into our news, but that was good stuff. And that was good stuff. All right, but we're moving. Everybody says it's just you. Total meat riding. Fucking whatever, dude. Meat riding. Just you. This is gay. All right, sorry. Let's get back into politics. All right, well, we are going to move on. We're going to get into our featured story. I don't know about you guys, but I'm bored with winning. I am absolutely sick and tired. I am disgusted with all the winning that is going on. Our featured story tonight is all about Tom Homan, who announced at a press conference this morning that the ICE surge in Minneapolis is concluded. It's over. He got up today and said that the surge of thousands of Border Patrol and ICE agents is now officially done. And after they initially withdrew 700 agents last week, they're now withdrawing the rest of the agents. And it's over. And this is the story. This is from the Washington Post. It says, quote, Border Czar Tom Homan declared an end to Operation Metro Surge in Minnesota following widespread protests against immigration raids that led to the fatal shooting of 2 American citizens by ICE agents. Homan alleged the operation led to more than 4,000 arrests since it began on December 1st and said it targeted serious offenders in an effort to improve public safety. 4,000 arrests in 77 days. You know how many that is per day? 55. Okay? So all of that for that. Think about it. We deployed, 7,000 ICE and Border Patrol agents into Minneapolis. They were conducting patrols and neighborhood sweeps, and they were doing targeted enforcement. And there were riots and protests, and targets are getting blown up, and Marriotts are getting torn down, and it's anarchy in the streets, and 2 Americans are dead, and ICE agents are getting beaten to death with shovels. All of that for 55 arrests per day. 55. Okay? Now, in 2025, on average, ICE arrested about 1,000 people per day, and that gave us just around 350,000 arrests for the year. 230,000 removals. Okay? So, last year, we did, 1,000 arrests per day, maybe 600 deportations per day. This was 55. Double digits. 55 arrests per day. And this was the biggest surge of ICE and Border Patrol in any city to date. The biggest surge, the biggest operation. Commander Bovino, Commander Holman in Minneapolis. Oh, we're going in. If you're illegal, you better go home. 55 per day. A grand total of 4,000 in 80 days. 4,000 in 80 days. Dude, it should be 4,000 every fucking day. It should be 4,000 per day, not 4,000 in 2.5 months. And that's your biggest operation since Trump got into office, and now it's over. Okay? Just for context, these are the numbers. The article goes on and says, Holman's announcement came 2 weeks after Trump officials removed Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, who had been leading the operation. Holman said the operation was ending because Ellison had agreed that state and local jails might work with ICE to detain and deport immigrants who have been arrested for crimes. He said officials may notify officers about an immigrant's imminent release and allow them to make arrests inside jails instead of on the street. Minnesota officials have said they already communicate with ICE and facilitate the transfer of serious offenders from state prisons. So, just so you understand what that is, we'll explain it a little bit more in a minute, but what they're describing, they're saying that ICE is leaving the city because now, if someone gets arrested for murder and they go to jail, the police will give that person to ICE. So they're saying, we don't need 5,000 ICE agents in the city because now we have an agreement where if someone gets arrested for a horrible, violent crime, well, then they'll just get turned over to ICE. And this is a relief? This is supposed to be good news? That's an Obama-era policy. That should already be happening. That is already happening. That's a given. Of course, if someone gets arrested for a violent murder, they get deported. Of course, they get turned over to ICE. That's the status quo. They already do that. But more on that in a moment. It says Holman acknowledged internal failures in Operation Metro Surge, noting he increased internal affairs presence in Minnesota and informed officers there is zero tolerance for misconduct. He also said he required Border Patrol agents to embed with ICE officers who have more experience with internal enforcement and issued body-worn cameras to officers. In a sign of fissures in Trump's camp, Holman acknowledged the hate from some Republicans who want the president to keep his pledge to deport undocumented immigrants regardless of their criminal history. Holman said, we are, but we're prioritizing those who are the biggest threat to our community, the rapists, the murderers, child molesters. That's the right thing to do. So Republicans are unhappy, saying, we want every illegal immigrant deported. And Tom Holman said, we're definitely going to deport everybody, but first we're going to do this targeted enforcement. Just one problem. Washington Post says that approach would not enable Trump to deport millions as he and Miller have promised. More than 11 million unlawful immigrants reside in the United States. As of mid-2024, fewer than 700,000 immigrants had criminal histories. Okay? So let me paint a picture for you.
Can we go in here?
About this administration. It is 2026. We are entering the second year of this administration. And this mass deportation thing, it is already finished. It's already cooked. It's over. Think about it. Trump deploys the biggest surge of immigration enforcement personnel to Minneapolis to date. You've got thousands and thousands and thousands of ICE, Border Patrol. I believe there were even a few hundred National Guard at one point. And they deploy in Minneapolis, remember, in response to the fraud which was discovered in the Somali community. That Somalians were stealing upwards of $8 billion in government money for these fraudulent nonprofits and programs. And so in response to this discovery, this is supposed to be a showcase. This is supposed to be a demonstration of force. It's not strictly about the numbers. It's also about establishing a precedent. Think about it. You have this YouTuber that goes in and he finds out that all of these Somali daycares and nonprofits are a front. This is a fraud operation, and they are defrauding the taxpayer out of billions and billions of dollars for fake food nonprofits and for disabled people and homeless and everything you can think of. And so Trump, in the spirit of mass deportations and law and order, deploys a small army of ICE, Border Patrol, National Guard to get to the bottom of it and deport these people. And again, it's not just about the numbers, it's about sending a message. And the message is, this is Trump's America. And in Trump's America, we are going to protect the integrity of our system. And that means not just our immigration laws, but also the public dole, also the tax base. Because after all, why would anybody pay taxes if it's just being taken and given knowingly to people that shouldn't even be here so that they can buy luxury cars or give it to people in Somalia? Because that's what's going on. People are paying taxes and the government knows it's fraudulent, but they're making the payments anyway. And these foreigners are taking that money and they're buying luxury goods, and they are sending it back in the form of remittances and who knows, other kinds of corruption to their homeboys in Mogadishu. So Trump goes in to say, we are bringing it, and we don't play around, and this is what happens if you fuck with America. If you break the laws, we are going to come down on you very hard. Okay, well, Trump goes out there, and again, they're not even doing anything. Okay, and this is something that needs to be acknowledged at the beginning. They're doing all of this, and you know, if we back it up to where we were back in December, realize they're not even doing anything. There's this big show of force, but that's really all it is. It's just a show. They have DHS investigations going door to door for the cameras, so they can post on social media, so they can tell the public, hey, we're doing something about it. They're not getting to the bottom of anything. They're not really making any arrests. They're not uncovering any huge scandal. They are literally there as a show of force and nothing else. That's all it is. It's a big gesture. It's a big performance. It's a demonstration. And literally for the cameras. They have people there in uniform. They have walking a beat on foot so that their social media person can film it and they can issue a press release and they can post it on the socials, and that way Carpe Donkdom and Cat Turd and DC Drano can retweet it to their idiot followers and defend this ridiculous administration. And they can say, see, it's not a total corrupt disaster. They're doing something. So let's just get it straight. It's totally fake to begin with. They're not even doing anything. And we know that now that it is over. 55 arrests per day? How many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Somalis live in Minnesota? How many of them are there on TPS? How many of them are there on a temporary protected status technicality that was actually revoked last year? And you're arresting only 55 people per day? There's a lot more than 4,000 illegal immigrants in the city of Minneapolis. It's a big city. That's for openers. So you have this horrific scandal, and it's a layered scandal. It's illegals. They're illegals from Africa. They're Muslim. They're complete aliens and foreigners. Somalia has like the lowest human development index in the world. I think they're like 193rd or 192nd. They're like bottom of the barrel, literally the worst country in the world. They're all here illegally, and they're stealing. So Trump sends in DHS to pretend like they're doing enforcement in response to the performance. You have the radical left activated. And I know some people take issue with my use of the phrase radical left, but that's what they are. These are local activist cells. These are local chapters of different groups. They are socialist, they are communist, progressive, far left, and that is the basis under which they're organizing. Like, that's what they are. They are far left, decentralized, networked, extremely organized on social media, funded, some say by billionaires, and I tend to believe that. And so the far left deploys into the city to thwart the deportations. And you've seen this. They're organizing in signal chats. There's some claims that they're working with the government, that the mayor is in on this, that the governor's in on this, that some of the Democrat city machine is in on these activist group chats. And they're organizing to basically harass and impede ICE and Border Patrol. And you've seen the videos on social media. They're taking pictures of license plates to identify ICE vehicles. Then they've got spotters placed around the city to look out for the vehicles. And when they see them, they then deploy the activists. And they deploy them in vehicles and on foot to either harass the vehicles, honking the horns, alerting illegals, or they're using their vehicles to box in ICE, or they're on foot getting in the face of ICE agents and physically confronting them, harassing them, impeding their operations, impeding actual arrests and law enforcement duties. And so this is happening now in Minneapolis. Again, layers to it. In response to this, Trump sends in a few hundred National Guard and he beefs up the presence. Initially, there were only a few thousand ICE agents. Trump beefed it up. I think he doubled those numbers, increased them by 50, 100%. And he bolstered that with Border Patrol to deal with the protesters. So you have a small contingent there to make the arrests of the illegals and investigate the fraud. Protesters come out in full force. So then Trump deploys National Guard and Border Patrol to deal with the protesters. Well, the protesters only escalate. The agitators only escalate. And their numbers are growing. And there's these huge protests, huge encounters. And as we all know, what happens next? They start getting killed. So Renee Good gets killed. Alex Preddy gets killed. And there's this convulsion across the whole country. You get the wall-to-wall media coverage. There's riots in Minneapolis. Huge protests coast to coast. There's this effort on social media unlike anything I've seen since George Floyd. I see people on Instagram posting about, we need to support immigrant voices and we need resources in the community and all that kind of stuff. It all makes a big reappearance. And this is where we are in January. And this is actually the moment of decision, okay? You have to understand, everything is building up to this point. And when I say everything, I mean everything. When Trump ran in 2016, he said, we have an illegal immigration problem. There's way too many of them here. There's way too many coming over. We have an open border. We need to build a wall and kick these people out. And he has fought so hard for 10 years. The election of 16, the impeachments, the fraudulent election in 20, the Stop the Steal, the J6, the indictments, the assassination, elected in 24. It is to deal with this problem. It is to deal with the globalization of our country through population replacement. And so we are here. He runs on a platform of mass deportations to undo the 10 million that Biden brought in. And there's this mandate to achieve it because the problem is so out of control. Trump gets $150 billion. I think it's $190 billion with the big, beautiful bill last year for this purpose. For a wall, for ICE, for deportations, to do this. Okay, so we've arrived. We're here. This is a moment of decision. This is the confrontation. We have fought all this time to get to this point. Elections, impeachments, indictments, prison sentences, censorship, assassinations and assassination attempts, appropriations, just to get to this point where the rubber meets the road and ICE is finally going to go into these major cities and start rounding these people up and throwing them out. And as expected, This is not going to happen without pushback. It's not going to be easy. You're not going to deport 20 million people without resistance. You're not going to do the largest deportation operation in U.S. history without encountering some pushback. It's not going to be easy. So here we are. We've arrived. What does Trump do? Well, like always, he completely and totally and unambiguously cucks. He chickens out, surrenders, capitulates immediately. He folds. This was your moment. And by the way, it could be no other way. There is no other way this could go. If you want to deport 10 million people in 4 years, you need to deport thousands and thousands of people every single day. If you're deporting thousands of people every single day, you know what's going to happen? Some people are going to fucking die. It's just the way it is. Thousands of people every day for years. Yes, some people are going to be arrested who are citizens. And it's a big mistake and a misunderstanding, but statistically, it's going to happen. If you're going to deport 10 million people, what are the odds that one of them or a dozen of them or 100 of them are going to get caught up in this accidentally? And so the media is going to say, due process, Fourth Amendment, out of control, right? It's inevitable. And if they're saying that, and if illegals are being hauled out of their communities, and if there's a huge ICE visible presence in the streets, there's going to be left-wing protests. To get thousands and thousands of people out, you're going to need a shit ton of cops everywhere, all the time. And they're going to be militarized. And they're going to be hauling a lot of people out that don't want to leave. So they're going to be crying and screaming and carrying on and resisting. And some of them are going to get their asses kicked. And some of them are going to get separated from their kids. And like I said, some of them are going to be detained improperly or mistakenly. And all of this is going to create resistance. Resistance from the left, which is sympathetic to these people. Resistance from the Democrat machine, which relies on them to harvest votes and other things. Resistance even from the business community, because they rely on these people for cheap labor and for consumption and other things. So, in other words, it could go no way other than this. Then you're going to get massive backlash. You're going to get protests. You're going to get riots. You're going to get agitators attacking ICE. All of this is unavoidable. And what are you going to do to those people? You got to arrest them and kill them. If you have left-wing agitators firebombing ICE facilities, shooting ICE officers with a sniper rifle, boxing them in with an SUV with an AR-15 in your lap, if they're getting in the middle of an arrest, if they're running over an ICE agent with a car, you know what? Yeah, a lot of these people need to be arrested, and some of them, it's unavoidable, they're going to be in an officer-involved shooting. And that's going to provoke more of a response. But this is the fight. There's a word for this. It's called a war. Okay? And war is not easy. War is the highest form of human organization. And this is what it is. Fighting for every inch, every hill, every valley, every river, every choke point, taking land, and you're advancing. And you're going to take shots, and some people around you are going to go down, and there's going to be complications, but you deal with it, and you advance. You always advance. It's a war, and this is what it's going to be. Don't you realize this? You know, there were a lot of people when these protesters got killed who said, you know, I support mass deportations, but not like this. There's no other way. How would you physically remove 10 million people from this country and not make any mistakes? How would you do it? How would you remove 10 million people without asking somebody, do you speak English? Without accidentally detaining somebody that happens to be a citizen? How do you do this without provoking a left-wing response that is violent? And how do you do that without one of them dying? I mean, you saw those videos of Alex Preddy. This guy was unhinged. He was deranged. He got his ribs broken by ICE. In another altercation, he's flailing around, kicked the taillights out of one of ICE's cars. He got thrown to the ground. This guy was a lunatic. He's there with a loaded gun in his waistband and 2 other magazines in his car. What was he there to do? What are we supposed to do with a guy like that? And it's inevitable that guys like that are going to be created by a policy like this. And volume. So this is the fight. And if you're not willing to stomach some dead agitators, if you're not willing to stomach some brutal tactics to put down these protests, tear gas, riot shields, and all that stuff, if you can't stomach family separation, if you can't stomach the militarization of ICE, then you don't want mass deportations. And you know what else? If you don't want mass deportations, then you get a mass amnesty. There's no other option. You either get all of that with mass deportations, and if you don't deport 10 million people, then 10 million people just got an amnesty. 30 million people just got an amnesty. 30, 40, 50 million, however many there are, they just got an amnesty. They just got a free passport to the United States, and their kids won the lottery. Citizenship and a passport, and that is their ticket to our schools and our health care. That is a ticket to our welfare system. That is a ticket to our welfare state, our safety net, voting, all of it. And that's unacceptable. If you amnesty 30 million people, you don't have a country. What right at that point do you have to say that some other foreign national can't come here and overstay their welcome? You can't. You amnesty 30 million people, you don't have a country. You don't have a border. And what credibility do any of the laws have? If 30 million people can come here, they're here illegally, they should be removed, and they're staying against our will. We don't have a country at that point. So this is how it has to be. All of this. It's necessary that it's necessary to get to the conclusion, to go through these things. The only way out is through all of this. And what does Trump do at the moment of decision? Total surrender. Before Renee Good was even shot, the White House was talking about recalibrating. Remember? Before Renee Good was even shot, before her body hit the floor, the White House was talking about changing the strategy and recalibrating and focusing on those so-called criminal illegal aliens. Remember? Then Renee Good got shot, and Trump went on a press conference and said, we're only deporting the criminals. Then the other guy got shot. They relieved Bovino. They pulled out 700 ICE officers. Kristi Noem started talking about body cams. Stephen Miller started blaming everybody else. And it was over. And now they have slow-walked it, but ultimately they are retreating. First they took out Bovino, then they pulled out 700 guys. They did it in a graduated way over the course of a month. And now in the middle of February, they say the whole thing is over, we're pulling everybody out. What else would you call this other than an utter surrender? This is a total surrender. And I see a lot of Trump supporters saying, no, that's because we won. No, they're not all the ICE agents are leaving. What else would you call this? And how do you think the left interprets this? You have the John Brown Gun Club deploying to Minneapolis. You've got these progressives and communists, DSA. They're all over Minneapolis. They're establishing checkpoints. They're getting in the face of ICE officers, overwhelming them and attacking them. And ICE makes the announcement, we're leaving. Our commander that everyone hates, he's out. He got sent to some other state. We pulled 700 out 2 weeks ago. Now we're all leaving. What kind of message do you think that sends to the left? Well, it's obvious to anybody who isn't delusional. The message that this sends to the left is that agitation works. If you dox ICE agents, if you attack their cars, if you interfere in their duties, if you riot outside their hotels, if you riot in Target, if you scream in their face, they will leave. If you increase the unpleasantness, if you show up and cause problems, well, the Trump administration has no balls, and they will leave. If all you have to do is go out, all you have to do is go out and bang on pots and pans, all you have to do is go out and break the laws, run over some ICE agents, and they will back down. They will retreat. In other words, you will get what you want. Rioting works. You don't like what the government is doing? Just riot, and they'll stop. You don't like that the government is deporting illegals? Just riot outside their hotel. Dox them, intimidate them, attack law enforcement, and they will stop the thing that you don't like. They will leave. And do you know what happens when you send that message to the left-wing agitators? They do more of it. They get emboldened. You just taught them something, which is, if we riot, we get our way. So what do you think they're going to do more of? They're going to riot more. They're doxing, swatting, attacking Trump administration officials. Stephen Miller has to live on a military base because of the death threats. A lot of them do now. A lot of them need around-the-clock security. ICE agents have to wear masks because they know that if they don't, they're going to get doxed, and left-wing psychos might kill them. And you just taught every left-wing psycho and schizo, every tranny, every wannabe Luigi Mangione, every wannabe Tyler Robinson, hey, it works. Do more of that. The Trump administration will back down. They won. The left won, and Trump let them win. He served it up on a silver platter. He just gave up. And here's the best part. We're in the right. We have the law on our side. Trump is the president. He was elected. He won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. It wasn't a trick. He won the election on a platform of mass deportations. He won the House and the Senate. It also happens to be the law. He is using law enforcement to physically remove people that are here illegally. So we have everything going for us. You've got the popular mandate. You've got the executive branch. We are right. We have the law on our side. These are cops. This is federal law enforcement. The illegals shouldn't be here, and the agitators can't beat up law enforcement. And we gave up. We could use the law. We could use ICE. We could use the $200 billion for DHS. And we could throw all these fucking people in jail. And we would have every right, and it would be legal. And we have a mandate to do it. We could put these people under the jail if we had the political will. What's stopping us? Not judges, not Democrats, nobody. You've got, how many ICE agents did they hire? 12,000? You got the detention space. You got the budget. Isn't that what the big, beautiful bill was all about?
No.
This was a decisive confrontation over mass deportations and against the left, and Trump blinked, and he lost. And what does that say about the country? Who's really in charge here? Well, we just sent the message that the anarchists are in charge. Think about it. Illegals are squatting in our country. The actual native-born citizens and the taxpayers are saying, hey, get the fuck out. You need to leave. You don't belong here. You cheated. You cut the line. This is not right. This isn't fair. We have a very generous system. How many immigrants do we allow to come here legally? Through family-based migration, chain migration, refugee program, visa lottery, work visas. This is a very generous nation. You fucking people have no right to be here. You're not refugees. You're not asylum seekers. You're economic migrants. You are here because it is preferable to live in our country that our ancestors built as opposed to your shithole country. Well, that doesn't make you an asylum seeker because you're poor over there. It just means you prefer to live here. Well, it's the obligation of our government to protect our stuff and the integrity of our borders and our laws and our quality of life, the order in our society. We go to the illegals and say, hey, get out. Well, they just vetoed that decision. We elected a president to physically remove them And they vetoed that. No, we're not going anywhere. Again, we have law enforcement. Law enforcement is going in, arresting the agitators, the illegals, the protesters. The agitators are breaking the law.
How does that count, nigga?
It's disorderly conduct. It's borderline insurrection. They're running checkpoints. They're vandalizing private property. They're assaulting law enforcement, spitting on them, punching them, vandalizing their cars. Once again, who's in control here? We elect a president, even in the other case, to deploy the National Guard to restore law and order in the left-wing cities. In Chicago, in D.C., in New York City, in L.A. What do? There they riot. Once again, who's in control? The criminals. The agitators, the communists, the anarchists, the murderers, the burglars, the carjackers. These corrupt Democrat machines. Think about why we're even there. We are there because the Democrat political machine in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, is funneling taxpayer money to this criminal, illegal alien population. What a sucker you are. You're a citizen. You were born here. Your ancestors were born here. They built this place. You actually work. You obey the laws. You own a home. You pay your taxes. And the Democrat machines take your taxpayer money that you work for, and they give it to illegal aliens that have no right to be here from shithole countries that hate us, so that they can send it home. And then they work with agitators when the government tries to deport those people, and you have a Jewish mayor, Jacob Fry, that says, get the fuck out of our city, and the agitators attack the cops. And this is our country now. That's who's in control. That's who's in control in LA, New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, DC. That is who is in control of our country. The homeless, the vagabonds, the burglars, the carjackers, murderers, illegal aliens, scammers,
$3 million,
fraudsters, corrupt politicians. That is who is in control. And you know, the whole point of electing Trump is that he was going to fight those people on our behalf. Wasn't that the shtick? You know, fight, fight, fight. Remember that? Remember when Trump raised his fist and said, fight, fight, fight? And they said that 6 million times at the convention. Trump is going to fight. He's our voice. He's going to win for us. He is a bitch. Trump is a bitch. He chickens out. I mean, what do we have to lose here? You want to know why they surrendered and retreated? Because they're worried about the midterms. You want to know why? Because the Chamber of Commerce called up and said, we don't like all these protests in the Target parking lot. We don't like all these protests outside our Marriott hotels. That's why. Because the Republican conference called up and said, hey, we're going to lose the midterms if this keeps up. This is really unpopular. That's why. That's why they're stopping. It is a decision that Trump made. Trump could do it. You're the president of the United States. You won the election. You have the law on our side. He could do it. He won't. Because he doesn't have it in him. And this loss cannot be overstated. Like, think about what we're now involved in. Like, think about what Trump is doing. He's going after his political opponents, like James Comey and all these other people. And these executive orders and the things that he's saying. And the way that they're deploying ICE and doing this performative stuff. Look at how much you've pissed off the left. These people are insane. Another tranny shooting in Canada. Happens all the time now. Tranny school shootings, left-wing trannies assassinating people. These people are emboldened. You got guys like Zohran Mamdani say they want to tax white neighborhoods to pay for free shit for the poor. You got this guy running in Texas who says it's class warfare against the billionaires. We got to eat the rich. California, they're doing a wealth tax. And I know it's on billionaires and everything. But these Democrats are emboldened. The left is emboldened by what they're seeing. And they don't play. Trump has pissed them off royally. He has challenged them. They are coming back with a vengeance, and now Trump doesn't want to fight. Now Trump is totally caved. Who is going to be left now to pick up the pieces with all these people? When a Democrat wins in 2028 because of all this, what are they going to do to us? Trump is going to be fine. He'll pardon himself. He'll be in Qatar. He'll be in the Middle East somewhere with his family. What are we going to do? Do you know that when a Democrat gets back in, they are going to eradicate ICE? They're going to abolish ICE. They're going to open the borders. They're going to undo everything Trump did, and they're going to go in the complete opposite direction. And this is what I warned you about. These are these second-order consequences that nobody wanted to think about. Remember in 2024, I said that if we elect Trump and he doesn't do these things, if he shits the bed, that he is going to be an albatross and he's going to drag us all down. He's going to get blamed for everything, and we're going to get someone far left in 2028. But everybody said, yeah, but we need to buy more time, and, you know, he's the lesser of two evils. Remember? Nobody wanted to think about that long-term effect. Nobody wanted to think about those second-order consequences in 2024. But now it's becoming very apparent why a second Trump administration might not have been the best idea. And it's because he hasn't changed. This is the exact same thing that happened 8 years ago. It's identical. It's literally identical. Trump was elected in 16 on build the wall, the border wall. And he utterly failed. It didn't happen. And he tried, and he backed down. He tried to do family separation, tried to get a border wall. 2018, midterms came around. It got too hot. He backed down. It was obvious that he had not changed at all in 2024. And that's why we're seeing the exact same story play out in 2026. And how do you think this ends, by the way? So, Tom Homan has withdrawn us from Minneapolis. That's over. How do you think we're going to get mass deportations now? What does that look like? We deported 230,000 last year. You'd be lucky if you get 1 million total by the end of 4 years. How do you double that number? Well, to double that number, you need twice as many ICE agents, twice as many arrests, twice as many deportations, obviously. How are you going to do that in any major city after this? How do you go into a major city where the illegals are and start rounding them up in much larger numbers than you did last year after what just took place in Minneapolis? It's going to be the same. You go into New York, Chicago, LA, Houston, Dallas, it's going to be the same story. You try to get these deportations up, it's going to involve a huge ICE presence that's very visible. The illegals are emboldened. They will resist. The agitators will respond and turn out. It's going to be the same because they know the Trump administration's a joke. So how do you think it's going to happen? It's not. It's done. And they're already telling you that. Tom Homan said we're prioritizing the violent criminals. Trump said violent criminals. They said, why are we leaving Minneapolis? Because the police have made an agreement with us. You know what the agreement is? If a murderer gets arrested and they happen to be illegal, they'll be turned over to ICE. That's the agreement. So this is the end of those mass deportations, which are achieved with sweeping patrols and raids in neighborhoods. And this is the beginning of targeted enforcement. An Obama-era policy where they only go after criminals, or the local police turn over criminals to ICE who happen to be illegal. That's what that is. And as this article says, there's only 700,000 criminal illegal aliens that fit that description. So how are you going to deport 10 million illegals when there's only 700,000 that have committed a crime? And you've probably deported 100,000 of them already. Where are you going to get those numbers from? You're not. And do you know what's going to happen in 2027? It's not going to get better. In 2027, here's a little preview for you. We will lose the House in 2026. Democrats will control the House. In 2027, they will refuse to fund the government unless ICE is severely limited and constrained and restricted. And that will be the end of that. You see, on Polymarket, Democrats have an 83% chance of winning. You look at the generic ballot, favorability, job approval, it's absolutely miserable. Democrats are going to capture the House. That is where appropriations bills originate. And in 2027 and 2028, you're not going to be able to fund one agency or department in the government because the Democrats will demand that everything be defunded until ICE is effectively hamstrung and abolished. So you think it's going to get better? It's going to get worse. This mass deportation thing is on hold. It is on an indefinite pause while Republicans try to salvage their party in the midterms. But they're not going to do anything risky or sensational or effective until then. And then you get your lame duck period, the Democrats get seated, and then, just like they're doing right now, Democrats are defunding DHS, and they don't even control any chamber. They have a minority in the Senate, and they're using it to defund Homeland Security over this. Wait until they control the House. Wait until they balance it out in the Senate. And they are going to shut this government down. It's going to be subpoenas, impeachments, indictments, select committees. It's going to be government shutdowns until you get sick to your stomach. And that's going to roll right through to 2028. And that is your second Trump administration. Those are your mass deportations. And here's the worst part, totally avoidable. Who do you have to blame? I mean, fuck these people. Fuck Tom Homan, fuck Stephen Miller, and fuck Trump. You let us down. You surrendered. You lost. Think about how they played these people up. Stephen Miller is autistically thinking about how to deport more people. Tom Homan is the man. Dude, Tom Homan went to Minneapolis to wrap it up. Trump sent Tom Homan to Minneapolis to facilitate the retreat, to facilitate the orderly surrender of ICE to the fucking communists and the Somali scammers and the illegal immigrants. And that is exactly what happened. I don't want to hear anything different from the plan trusters. That is exactly what happened. They went in there because of the YouTuber. They went in there because of Nick Shirley to deport the Somali scammers. They decisively lost. And Tom Homan was deployed to facilitate the orderly surrender of the city to the Jewish Democrat mayor, to Tim Walz, to the Somalis, to the illegals, to the Democratic Socialist Hicklips. And that is what has happened. And they have nobody to blame but themselves. You can't blame the Democrats. You can't